Deep in Nora Wakeman's lab, the scientist was busy hooking up a dream-amplifying device to Ginny, Anne, and Beatrice. She'd been working hard for some time to help the girls find the cause of their shared dreams. Ginny's friend Shadow had been helping, but had to leave recently to report back to his boss, Mr. Dream.
He was very disappointed that he couldn't help out.
Shadow had written.
He says there is no such thing as a dream-amplifying device.
I believe there is,
said Nora Wakeman.
With this device, whatever forces tying your dreams together should be strengthened. Ideally, it will allow you to find the source of the phenomenon.
Nora Wakeman had invented the device, so she knew it would work.
Are you ready, children?
She asked, holding up the device and smiling.
Will it hurt?
Asked Ginny.
Very slightly,
said Nora.
But hopefully it will be worth it.
We hope so too,
said Ginny and Anne at the same time. The scientist nodded and pressed the button. The device lit up, along with the sensors the two children and the bird wore on their foreheads.
We're in the dream now,
said Nora.
This doesn't feel like a dream,
Beatrice said.
What dream ever feel like a dream?
Asked Nora.
This is just a slight feeling of dizziness. You're not really moving around, but the sensation is strong. Just keep your eyes open and you'll be fine.
Ginny and Anne nodded, and they began to walk around their surroundings. The first thing they noticed was that they were much bigger than before. Their surroundings were even bigger. They were walking through a grassy field with the sun overhead and a few puffy clouds in the sky.
I can fly?
Anne said, pointing to the birds in the sky. The birds were white and blue and fluffy, and they were floating in the air. They followed Beatrice as she flew past the girls.
That sure is pretty,
said Ginny, looking around.
I think this is where we met Anne.
Anne nodded, and the two walked forward. There's a tree there with big, bright red leaves.
I think this is where we met Shadow.
This is where you met him,
Ginny said.
I met him in Nightfall.
Shadow has a very big nose,
Anne said, pointing it out. Ginny and Anne looked at the tree. They looked at each other and smiled. The tree was real. So was Shadow. But this was a dream. Anne walked over to a large rock and sat down. Ginny sat next to her and looked at the clouds. The sky was blue and the sun was out. It was a beautiful, sunny day.
Don't get lost in your happy thoughts, girls.
Nora warned.
We're here to find the secret in your shared dreams. Remember.
Sorry,
Anne said, and Ginny smiled. The scientist pressed the button on the dream-amplifying device, and the two girls felt a tingling sensation run up their foreheads.
We're ready,
said Nora.
Just keep your eyes closed.
I hope this works.
Anne said.
We can do this?
Ginny said. Anne nodded and closed her eyes.
Open your eyes, girls,
said Nora.
We are here.
Anne and Ginny opened their eyes and looked around. They were in what appeared to be a little girl's bedroom. Beatrice settled down on Ginny's head as they looked around. The room was filled with plush toys and seemed to be decorated for Christmas.
It's so pretty,
Anne said, walking over to the window. There were little decorations hanging from it, with a few glass balls inside.
I love the tree.
Anne said, picking up a stuffed bear. It was blue with red ears and a white nose.
I wish we could stay here.
I knew,
Ginny said.
but we can't. Shadow said so.
Anne nodded and picked up a stuffed animal. It was a yellow bear with blue spots and long pointy ears.
I like this one.
Anne walked back to the window and looked outside. She smiled and waved at the little girl. She watched as the girl smiled and waved back before the girl faded away.
Who's that?
Asked Beatrice.
That was Karen.
Said Anne.
Does she live here with her mom and dad?
Beatrice asked.
I think so.
Said Anne.
She waved back. I see her in my dreams sometimes.
I see her in my dreams too.
Said Ginny.
I think we're going to meet her soon.
Anne and Ginny looked at each other and smiled.
Do you guys feel like you're being watched?
Beatrice asked nervously. Anne and Ginny turned around and gasped. There was a woman standing behind them, staring at them. She wore a long burgundy robe with a mask over her face.
Who's that?
Asked Anne.
That's Mother.
Said the woman behind them.
She's going to help you. She's going to help all of us.
Who are you?
Oh, me. I'm the Shadow Weaver.
The woman said.
I thought you meant someone else.
No, I mean who are you?
Anne and Ginny asked at the same time.
Me, I'm a dream weaver. I create dreams for people.
Why are you?
Asked Anne.
I thought you would never ask. I thought you would never want to know. I felt that you would never be brave enough to find out.
We are so brave.
Ginny said.
So you want to know.
Yes.
Said Anne, and they held eye contact with the woman.
My partners and I were dragged into this dream realm, but we got separated.
She explained.
I came here as an emissary of the Nightmare Tyrant Queen, Fluttershy.
What does that mean?
Asked Anne.
It means she's the baddie in the dreams.
Said Ginny.
In your dreams, yes.
Said the woman.
But I'm more curious how you four came to be here. It's not so easy for waking mortals to walk among dreams, especially one as hidden as this.
What do you mean?
Anne asked.
I can only assume your friends brought you here as well. If they didn't, then they are very stupid.
Who are you?
Ginny asked. Shadow Weaver sighed.
If I tell you, then you'll want to know who I am. And if I don't tell you, then you'll never know. That's the deal, right?
Hey!
Anne said.
I'm the Nightmare Queen's advisor.
Anne and Ginny gasped.
I assume you know who that is.
Shadow Weaver said. Anne and Ginny nodded. They'd seen the Nightmare Queen, Nightmare Moon, the Nightmare Tyrant, and many other nightmare entities. They knew that the Nightmare Tyrant had created the Nightmare King, who in turn created the Nightmare Queen. He made nightmares a reality for her, just like the Nightmare Cernicles made realities for the Nightmare Tyrant Queen.
We came here looking for answers.
Anne said.
We've been connected through our dreams, and we want to know why.
Dream connections are powerful things. You must be tied by fate.
The Shadow Weaver said.
If your search brought you here, then it can only be the work of the Dreaming Princess.
The what?
Asked Anne.
The dreaming princess, the first dreamer.
Beatrice said.
The Nightmare King's daughter whose dreams he sacrificed to the Tyrant in exchange for his terrible power.
Right, your
Shadow Weaver said.
The Nightmare Tyrant created her, and she was the first of her kind. Can help you get home.
So we just need to find her.
Anne asked.
Finding her is also my task.
Shadow Weaver said.
But it won't be easy. She was hidden away for her own protection. Nightmare Tyrant is a dangerous creature.
Is she here? Can we find her?
Oh, she's here, all right. I've seen her. I believe you have.
Anne thought about the little girl she'd seen out the window. The girl was no more than 10 years old. If she had friends or family, they probably wouldn't even know she was missing.
She's hidden in a dream in the middle of a dream.
Shadow Weaver explained.
We're in that dream now.
But that doesn't really help us.
Anne said.
That's the punt. You need to find the Dreaming Princess to get home.
How do we do that?
Nora asked.
I can show you.
Shadow Weaver said and vanished.
Oh, great.
Anne said.
We have to go in there.
It's either that or we stay here.
Said Nora. Anne looked at her friends and sighed. They were in a strange place and they had no idea where to go.
We can't stay here.
Anne said.
I don't want to stay here.
Said Ginny.
I don't want to stay here, either.
Anne said.
Then let's go find this dreaming princess.
Nora said.
That's the spirit.
Anne said, and they were off. The Shadow Weaver moved with them as they explored the house. They found a basement, a closet, a study, a bedroom, and other rooms.
Where is she?
Anne asked.
If you look through the mirrors, you'll find her.
Shadow Weaver said.
If you go into the paintings, you'll find her. If you look in the toes, you'll find her.
Where is she? Exactly.
Anne asked.
She's in many places.
Shadow Weaver said.
She can be anywhere and everywhere. She's the Dreaming Princess.
Anne looked around again and sighed.
Let's try the mirrors.
She said. Nora led the way to the many mirrors in the upstairs hall.
Which one's her?
Anne asked.
Oh, that.
Nora said.
Oh,
Anne said. Anne looked at the nearest mirror and gasped. The reflection she saw was that of a young girl with long blonde hair and bright blue eyes. The girl was wearing a pretty red coat with a white scarf and white gloves. The girl was very pretty.
Hello.
The girl said, and Anne felt a chill go up her spine. Anne turned to face the next mirror and gasped again. The next reflection was of the girl from the first mirror, standing behind her.
Hello again.
She said, and turned to the next mirror and gasped the third time. The girl from the first two mirrors was standing behind her, and behind her was... Well, Anne wasn't sure what she was standing behind, but it was definitely something.
Hello again.
The first girl said, and this time Anne felt something brush against her back. She turned around and gasped the fourth time. All four girls were standing behind her. Anne blinked and suddenly they became one.
It's nice to finally meet you in person.
The girl said. She had an accent, one that Anne couldn't place. She sounded nice.
They tell me I'm the Dreaming Princess.
who? What are you?
Anne asked.
You know my daddy is the Nightmare King.
The girl explained.
A long time ago, a fairy helped to hide me here in my dream. It's a nice dream, isn't it?
Yes.
Anne said. She wasn't sure she liked this dream girl. She sounded too nice.
This was my home before the fire.
The girl continued.
Before the blood-headed one in the tyrant's power.
The Nightmare Tyrant.
Anne said.
Yes,
The girl nodded.
I hate him. He's so mean to me. He wants to hurt me and take away my magic and use it to hurt everyone else. I don't want to hurt anyone else.
Shadow Weaver stepped forward.
The Nightmare Tyrant is dead now, child. We've come to wake you.
The girl shook her head.
I've heard the voices trying to wake me up, but I fear it's a nasty trick.
He's dead.
Anne said.
I've heard the voices, too.
The girl said, shivering.
They make me so afraid. I wish I could just sit here in my dream. Everything is always fine in my dream.
Anne thought about Ginny and her own terror of going to sleep. She felt for the girl.
Do you want to go back to the real world?
Anne asked.
No,
The girl said.
the real world is scary and dangerous. Your friends died in the real world.
But you're so pretty.
Anne said, and felt a twinge of regret.
Yeah, but I'm not real.
The girl said, and shivered.
I used to be real, but I'm just a memory now.
Anne felt terrible.
It's so sad.
The girl said.
When I first came here, I was so happy. I was real. Now I'm just a memory.
Anne felt awful.
We can help you get back to the real world.
Anne said.
It's not like you remember. It's much happier now.
Really?
The girl asked.
Really?
Anne said.
Really?
The girl asked and giggled. Anne smiled, and suddenly the room was flooded with light. The girl in the mirror turned into a ball of glittering dust, and the room was quiet.
It worked.
Shadow Weaver said. Anne sighed. She wasn't sure she liked this part of being a hero.
Now we just need to get Jenny out of that box.
She said. Nora Wakeman winced.
I'm sorry about this.
She said.
I didn't think it would be this difficult.
Anne and Shadow Weaver shrugged.
It's okay.
Anne said.
Really?
Take my hands.
Shadow Weaver said.
We'll follow her to the next level of the dream.
Anne took one of Shadow Weaver's hands.
This is so weird.
Anne said.
We're just chatters. Remember.
Shadow Weaver said.
Speak for yourself.
Ginny said, taking one of Shadow Weaver's hands. Nora grabbed on too. The next thing any of them knew, they were flying away from the house. It was like they were on a ride at Disneyland. They zoomed across the sky, over the dark forest, and over the mountains. In the distance, they heard a terrible wailing sound. Soon they were on the moon. They saw Fluttershy, Maleficent, and a strange moon girl they didn't recognize. They were standing around a bed where the dreaming princess lay sleeping.
Wake up, princess.
Shadow Weaver said.
We have to wake you up.
Anne looked at the princess. She looked so peaceful. She looked like a little girl, sleeping. Suddenly, her eyes fluttered open. She looked at Anne and Shadow Weaver, and then at the strange dreamscape around her. She sat up.
I feel different.
She said.
What happened?
You've woken from one dream into another.
Maleficent explained.
Maleficent.
The girl exclaimed, her eyes brightening.
Is it really you?
Hello, Cairn.
The dark fairy said.
I'm afraid I forgot my umbrella.
The travelers landed on the forest floor.
I feel better.
The dreaming princess said.
So much better.
Anne walked over to Ginny and the others.
What was that noise?
That was the sound of the end of the curse.
Maleficent said.
The nightmare turned is dead, and Princess Cairn is free.
I feel so happy.
The princess said, beaming at Anne and her friends.
I want to hug you.
Don't worry. We'll wait a few minutes.
Shadow Weaver said, and walked away. Anne looked at her friends. She looked at Ginny, who was smiling at her.
I think I want to hug you.
Anne said.
I think I want to hug you, too.
They hugged.
It's great to see you again.
Anne said.
It's great to see you, too.
Suddenly, a shadowy figure was standing behind them. Anne turned and saw a tall, pale woman stepping out from the tree. She was pulling a robot along beside her.
Good. We all found each other.
Fluttershy said.
Now, let's get this girl back to reality.
Is it really safe?
The princess asked.
If we take her back to the real world, we might destroy her happiness.
Maleficent said.
We need to take her somewhere safe.
I want to see her.
The princess protested.
You'll be safe with us.
Anne said.
Really?
The princess asked.
Really?
Okay.
The princess said. Anne held out her hand, and the robot extended a long, thin, translucent stick.
What's this for?
The princess asked.
You'll find out.
Anne said.
Let's go, everyone.
Maleficent said.
I'm scared.
The dreaming princess said. Anne sighed.
Don't worry. We won't let anything happen to you.
Anne said. She squeezed Ginny's hand. Ginny squeezed back.
I'm not afraid anymore.
The girl said. Anne turned to Ginny and smiled.
Me neither.
Ginny said.
Let's go home.
Anne said. The group walked through the forest and soon came to a cave.
Through here is the waking world.
Shadow Weaver explained.
You'll need to open a portal.
Fluttershy said.
I can do that with myself,
The moon nodded.
but I cannot go with you.
We understand.
Shadow Weaver said.
We'll see you on the other side.
The group walked through the portal and found themselves in a barren landscape of snow and ice. They stood on a barren mountain, high above the ground.
Come on.
Anne said.
Are we going home?
The dreaming princess asked. Anne nodded.
Yes, we're going home.
I don't understand why we're here.
Fluttershy said.
Is this still the dream world?
No! This is reality,
Maleficent said.
but it's not where we started from, that's for sure. I brought you her.
Came a voice from the distance. The group looked and saw a woman approaching them.
Who?
The princess asked.
It's me, Cairn.
The woman said.
Elsa,
The scientist said.
we thought you were lost.
I was.
Karen ran up and hugged Elsa.
I'm so happy to see you again.
She said.
And I am so happy to see you too.
Elsa said.
But where?
We're on a mountain in the real world.
Anne said.
We came through a portal just as you said you would.
My magic has brought us here.
The woman said.
It was a safeguard, in case a Tarrant was ever able to wake little Karen up from her dream.
Oh, Elsa.
The dreaming princess said.
That means I'm free.
Yes, you are.
Elsa said. And that's where I decided to cut this off before it got too long. Next time we'll be jumping along to Twilight's group with Judy's ghosts and stuff, assuming that I'm able to do it next time, because a little development that's happened between the last episode and this one is that Uberduck, the website I use to get all of these cartoon character voices, has recently changed their whole setup, shifting direction to do more original voices instead of the like cartoon characters and celebrities and stuff to navigate legal concerns. Currently, I do still have a way to get voices, but there's always a chance that that could change at any moment. So if that happens, I'll have to change course somehow. Currently, my plan is to just keep making Nightfall episodes like normal as best I can, and then if something happens where I can't anymore, then that's just where Nightfall will have to stop. If that does happen, I do have some ideas for like new stories that we could do that involve like wholly original characters that are made up by the AI instead of licensed characters, which may not be quite as fun, but I think could still be interesting. But that's just kind of like a safeguard backup plan. I just wanted to let y'all know in case something does happen, so you won't be like too shocked. But hopefully we'll be able to do Season 5, Chapter 5 sometime in the near future, and just keep moving along like normal. Either way, I'll see you all next time for whatever whatever the next video is. If it's Nightfall or something new, I don't know yet. But I appreciate y'all watching, and if you happen to miss the previous chapter, here's a little clip.
Yeah, I'm here. Do you recognize me now?
Yeah, my head's a little clearer now.
Puss said.
Everything's been strange ever since that we trapped me here.
The Nightmare Tyrant's evil influence.
That and the drinking. I've been stuck in this dream for a really long time, and I have a lot of regrets.
Like what?
Well, I've been mean to my boss. I don't pay enough attention to my friends. And I've been hanging out with some shady characters.
Puss said.
But that's all in the past now. I'm a new cat. I'm a bear cat.
That's great!